First, a daily personal development podcast that focuses on science-backed, actionable steps towards your best year ever. Hi, I'm Sandy, your host. Today we are officially 64 days away till the end of 2024. Today we're actually going to build on yesterday's topic, which was finding your audience. Today we're talking about expanding your brand's audience, which can absolutely impact your growth, your engagement, and your profitability. But it can be tricky. So this is going to be kind of a step-by-step guide with some outlines to give you more of a strategic approach so that you can safely expand your audience. And we emphasize research-based methods and real-world examples. So of course, the first step is always understanding your current audience. Some action steps you can take is to conduct market research to profile your existing customers. Again, we've talked about utilizing surveys, analytics, and gathering data concerning the demographics, preferences, and the behaviors of your audience. Something that's really important is really understanding your audience, your current audience, so you can lay the foundation for effective expansion. Research indicates that brands with a clear grasp of their audience tend to create more targeted and resonant messaging, resulting in higher engagement. And that comes by way of HubSpot. The next step is to define your expansion goals. We've talked about SMART goals. They're specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're relevant, and they're time sensitive. Goals could include increasing market share in a new demographic, or entering even into a new geographic location, or entering into a totally different market sector. Or you can also want to set a goal for just improving engagement with your existing customer segments. So all those things can be done. Another thing that's important while you're doing this step is to have a clear goal about what your marketing strategy is going to be so that you can ensure that your focus remains on the measurable outcomes. Research shows that brands with defined objectives are 12 times more likely to meet their marketing performance goals. And that comes by way of CoSchedule 2019. The next step you should take is to identify new target segments. So an action step is to research potential audience segments that align with your brand's values and products. Analyze competitors to see which audiences they are successfully engaging. Important. Identifying new audience segments allows brands to diversify their customer base. A study by Nielsen 2020 revealed that brands catering to multiple audience segments have a better chance of thriving in competitive markets. You start with your niche, right? Your niche audience, and then you expand from there. Your niche is always going to be your core, and then you can expand from there. So that's what we're talking about. The next step should be to develop tailored messaging. So an action step you can take is to craft messages that resonate with the new audience segments identified. Utilize market personas. And personas is something that we've talked about before, but tomorrow we're going to take a deeper dive because I did get some questions about how to go about actually developing those personas, because you should have multiple personas. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. So you craft a message centered around the new audience segments that you've identified. And then you utilize your market personas to align content and messaging strategies to meet the needs and preferences of those identified segments. One thing that's really important is customized messaging leads to higher conversion rates. According to Epsilon Research 2018, 80% of consumers are more likely to make a purchase when brands offer personalized experiences. The key word there is personalized. The next step is to choose the right channels. is to determine which media and social platforms are most frequented by your newly identified audiences. Remember, we talked about this, we lightly touched on this yesterday, and some people live and die by Facebook. Other people, you can only find them on Instagram. And then you have people that like Twitter and YouTube. So you really have to zero in on where your audience is having these conversations. Where are they spending their time? Something that's really important when you're selecting the right communication channel. A survey by Statista showed that 66% of marketers believe that multi-channel strategies are critical. When you select your communication channels, make sure that they're the right ones. And it is possible that your newly identified market segment uses a couple, so that can be the case as well. The next step you should do is schedule a trial campaign. So an action step you can take is launch a smaller scale campaign targeting the new audience segment. You can measure the engagement metrics, the conversion rates, the customer feedback during this phase. There are so many things out there. You can use MailChimp. There's just like so many things. You can use Ascend. The idea is to track, especially if you're sending out emails. When you're doing tweets, it's a lot easier because the analytics are built into the platform, so you can take a look at that. I think Facebook has, something similar, and I know YouTube does. So whatever you send out, trying to market to your new audience segment that you try to engage, make sure that you're using a platform that has analytics, because that's really one of the few ways you're going to know if you're being effective. Testing allows for a controlled environment where you can evaluate marketing effectiveness without risking your entire budget and time. Research by McKinsey 2020 suggests that brands that pilot their marketing strategies significantly reduce the risk of large-scale failures. And you would be surprised at the amount of companies that don't do this, even big box, large companies that don't do this, which is just flabbergasting to me. The next step that you should take is to analyze your data and refine your strategy according to what the data is telling you. Assess the performance of the trial campaign using your key performance indicators. And we'll talk more about key performance indicators tomorrow as well. Gather the insights that you've gleaned and make necessary adjustments to improve performance. One thing that's really important, and we've talked about this before, constant evaluation and refinement of your strategies increase the chance of successful audience expansion. So always be learning and always be iterating and refining your processes. An analysis by Gleanster Research, dated 2016, shows that data-driven businesses see 5 to 6 times higher performance than competitors. And then step number 8 is just to scale up your campaigns. An action step that you can take is, once you're successful, expand your marketing efforts to cover larger segments or additional regions and keep moving forward. You should do it in small increments, but you keep moving forward. Keep identifying new opportunities to add value to people's lives, whether, through your content, through your products, your services. You continue looking for those opportunities. You should also invest in resources such as advanced analytics and increase your budget allocation for outreach. Those things are very important. Another important thing to consider is that scaling successful strategies can exponentially increase your audience reach and revenue, something you should take very seriously and invest in it. A study by Forrester, dated 2018, found that successful scaling requires a strong feedback loop to adapt and engage continuously. Remember, we talked about the social listening aspect of seeing what the sentiment is, what are the bottlenecks that some of your competitors are having, and eliminating those in your own products and services, and doubling down on the things that your competitors are doing well. And you know this through social listening. You are listening to those conversations and you are implementing, applying that information into your own product and service strategy. A very good example of really potent expansion strategy that was very effective, and they started, very small scale, is a company that I referred to in the past, which is Airbnb. They really exemplify how a brand can safely expand its audience. Initially, they were focused on budget travelers and unique stays. Now, they identified a growing demand for luxury accommodations. Some of the steps in their strategy included market research. They identified potential high-income travelers seeking unique luxury experiences. They tailored their message. They introduced a premium segment called Airbnb Luxe, focusing on high-end travelers. They used channel diversification. They utilized influencer marketing, social media campaigns, and partnerships with travel agencies to enhance visibility. The outcome? They were ridiculously successful. They increased their audience by over 60%, and they tapped into the lucrative market while maintaining their core identity of unique accommodations. See, that is very key. A lot of people, when they try to expand, they neglect their core audience and then they lose everything. It's very important not to alienate your core audience, but still expand. And Airbnb was able to do this flawlessly. Amazon also did this flawlessly. They started out as an online book retailer. Yes, and now Amazon, I believe, is the largest employer in the world, I believe. So there you go. There is definitely a way to do this, and I'm sharing that with you based on research. Also, there's something that you have to consider that can really make or break any of your initiatives, and that's timing. Timing a critical role in almost everything, especially audience expansion. Launching campaigns during peak seasons, social trends, or relevant events can significantly influence success. I mean, remember all the boom of the mask companies that manufactured masks during COVID-19? Where are they now? Not around. So you can capitalize on an emerging, social phenomenon like that. Another good example is holiday travel campaigns yield higher engagement compared to off-peak periods, because, people are looking to travel. A Harvard Business Review study found that brands responding to societal trends or customer needs in real time experienced a 20 to 30% increase in consumer engagement. So, depending on what it is that you're offering, if you see that there's an emerging trend, if there's a social phenomenon, anything like that that's happening, and you can tap into that and capitalize on it, go for it. Because again, research does support the fact that you see a peak in your sales. Some of the things to avoid though: avoid neglecting your core, avoid neglecting your existing customers. Focusing solely on new audiences may alienate your loyal customers, and you don't want to alienate your diehards. It can also lead to reduced brand loyalty. Always ensure updates resonate with current clients as well. That's very important. Also, underestimating market research. Skipping through research could lead to targeting the wrong demographic. That's another thing. And that can result in wasted resources. Market analysis is critical before launching expansion efforts. It's critical when you're launching a business, period. Any type of endeavor that you're wanting to do, you have to conduct the market research, because you might be coming up with something that is not going to be successful right now because the timing isn't right, or there isn't an audience for it right now. So it doesn't mean that your product or services aren't good. It doesn't mean that. It just means that maybe now is not the right time, and that can happen as well. The other thing is inconsistency in brand messaging can kill any ventures that you might have. Shifting brand identity can confuse existing customers. Maintain a cohesive message and values while tailoring campaigns for new audiences. Now, I will say the caveat here is you may want to alienate your audience. Maybe they don't serve you. Maybe they aren't, maybe you targeted the wrong audience to begin with. And so now you're trying to pull away from that. So in that regard, then pay to ruffle a couple of feathers. But that's not going to be the case probably with the vast majority of people. Another thing is overextending your resources. Expanding too quickly can result in strained resources. Gradually scale efforts based on successful metrics from initial campaigns. Expanding a brand's audience is an intricate process that requires careful planning and research and execution. But these steps, I mean, you can use this as a quick start guide. They're outlined in such a way that it's you do one thing, and the what you did previously build now is going to be a step that's built out for the next step. And it can really help you mitigate risk and enhance engagement and achieve sustainable growth by going through these steps that are research backed and effective. Companies like Airbnb really are inspiring. They demonstrate that with a thoughtful approach, expanding your audience successfully while maintaining your core identity. Leveraging data and current trends and consumer insights is incredibly important. That's one of the ways you can learn who your new audience is and embrace them and fortify your existing customer relationships. Continued success in an evolving market landscape means having a strategy that you can adapt and that you can execute on, and that will also help you maintain satisfaction and happiness with your current core. If you like what you're hearing, don't forget to leave a review. You can also read a full transcript of this podcast episode and all of my podcast episodes on my blog, DoThisFirst.life. And while you're there, you can listen to all of my podcast episodes. You can also sign up for my weekly newsletter, where I share a lot of information on the emerging research on brain health, personal and professional development, as well as in the neurosciences. You can also listen to some of my podcast episodes on my YouTube channel, and that handle is @DoThisFirst. Tomorrow we'll continue, and tomorrow we're going to hyper focus on personas, on KPIs, and a couple of other things that are extremely important as you try to finish strong this year. Till tomorrow.
Moving past the rain, moving past the pain, or past the color blue. I see power in you. Past welded down. Look around, they can't be found. I see a champion in you. I see a champion in